All right, everybody, what's up and welcome back. This is a 15-minute segment if you're new here. I pick a topic and I talk about it for 15 minutes, and that's basically it. And yeah, so this will be the actual first time that I am taking video of the segment as well. So hello to the video. And hopefully my camera doesn't run out of battery for 15 minutes, which it might. So I guess we'll see what happens, but the video might cut off. Anyway, this topic today is stand-up comedy. I'm going to get my timer going here, 15 minutes. And we are off and rolling. Yeah, so now you get a peek into like what I'm doing when I'm recording these on video, but that's whatever. Just have my cup of coffee here, and I'd like to start this story. I don't want to go all the way back, but I'm going to go as far back as 2008, I believe. Actually, no, it was 2009. The spring of 2009, living in a frat house. One of my frat brothers, president of the frat, he used to be a fan of different comedy. I don't even know what his favorite stand-ups were, who his favorite stand-ups were, like what his shows. I know 30 Rock was a show that he used to watch in his outer room. I think he mentioned he liked the show Robot Chicken. But I guess you can go a little bit further back. There was an event one time at a frat where they're looking for an MC. I volunteered. I enjoy making people laugh. I've always enjoyed making people laugh, although I don't purposely go out of my way to always do so. So myself and the president of the frat, this is the spring of 2009, start talking, and he expressed an interest to me that he wanted to go and try to do stand-up comedy. And I was basically just down to go along for the ride. So let me just take a sip of this and we'll continue on. So I go, yeah, I mean, I'm down. Let's go along. I'll go along for the ride. So early days, what we did was, this is 2009, the spring, I believe. We would go on the internet and look for open mics in the area. So this is Saratoga, New York. So I went on Google open mics, and then I made a list of all the open mics. And basically, we would hit like 2 or 3 in a night, and this went on. I think we took maybe like 3 trips of doing it. So you got a feel for what's going on, and this is like the experiences varied. And before I even get into that, I guess I can explain, like, my strategy was that I wrote material in the beginning. And what I would write is I would write like short jokes to start, and then one longer joke where it's like, setting up a premise, and then a longer joke. So maybe like one-liners, and then like a final joke was like 5 minutes long or something like that. Maybe less, maybe like 3.5 minutes. And that was it. So, and some of my one-liners were original, and some of them were jokes that I had read, but like pretty obscure jokes. I remember, I don't remember the exact joke I told, but it was about an old man, and it's, why do old guys wear their pants so high? And I forgot about the punchline, but it's like a stupid punchline. It's like, has to do with like wrinkly balls or something. I don't remember the exact joke, but that was one of my jokes, and then I had other ones I made up. And so now me and this guy, Eric, shout out Eric, hop into his car. He just drove a sedan. And we start driving out to these open mics. And then you get a feel for like, oh, wait. And then this could be a different 15 minutes where I compare stand-up comedy to, I want to say rolling around and playing rock music or performing as an acoustic guitarist, whatever. There are a lot of similarities in that you're basically like coming up with your own creativity. you're showing up at some place where no one cares that you're there, and you're doing your performance, and everything that goes along with it. And what I really should have done is not had spoonfuls and spoonfuls upon spoonfuls of peanut butter before I started talking live into a microphone, but that's what I did. But the first point I want to make is that when we start going to the open mics, immediately I noticed the difference between, what's that word? Like spontaneity and like authenticity versus like contrived laughs. And I'll give the two examples. So like one of the first places we went to was just a bar that had an open mic. So there's like guys that are showing up and playing a song or two on guitar. And then like I walk up and I'm like, hey, I'm here to tell jokes. And then it's just like, someone just hands you the mic. It's like, go ahead. So it's like, I'm looking in front of me and I have a whole bar going back in front of me. And there's like a few tables in the back, but it's like very tight in there in the back. So everyone at the bar can hear me because I have the mic, but like only the people that are directly in front of me. I think it was like two small little tables of like a guy and his girl often, if ever. So that experience to me was the most authentic because the people at the bar were not looking for comedy. So if they're laughing, you were funny because it's just like you can make strangers laugh. Like that's the ultimate. And this is common knowledge amongst stand-up comedians. And I'll get into, if I can if I can finish in enough time, I'll get into like some of my thoughts on the state of stand-up comedy from the fan perspective because I stopped doing it. And I'll get into that, why I stopped. But, in modern times and like, it was big on social media during the pandemic and all that bullshit. But anyway, so that bar was like an authentic experience. Another authentic one would be different bar. It was like open mic, but then you show up, there's like 20 people at the bar. Maybe there's like 45 people at the bar. And the MC for the open mic comes up, or I find them and I'm like, hey, open mic tonight. It's me and Eric at this bar. And they're like, yeah, no PA, so it's canceled. But you can tell jokes if you want. And this is a true experience. So we go in and it's like, I gotta tell these jokes. Like we didn't drive all the way here. So we get there and then I'm standing in a semicircle. Actually, no, a full circle of people. Probably like 10 people maybe. We're all standing in a semicircle. And I'm just like, hey, this is, just telling my jokes a cappella into the mic. And so that was very hard. I don't think I really got any like laughs, The microphone is key because people are forced to like bend to the will of the dynamics of your voice and whatnot. But telling jokes a cappella in the back of a bar to a semicircle, like how much more raw can you get, So I'm giving these examples to now go to the flip side. And so it's a spectrum. So let's say we went all the way to the authentic raw side of it. In terms of like the whole phenomenological idea of stand-up comedy in and of itself. But now let's go towards the other side. So the road trips of myself and Eric, Epic Times, and you start seeing too, I got a feel for like, you go and do your routine and then you drive to the next spot. And on the drive to the next spot, whoever you're with, so it was us two in the car, we're kind of just discussing like what happened and like what went good and bad. And like, it's good to have someone who going to give you legitimate feedback, because I think it's true of it's true of myself and other people I did stand up with later, but I'll get into more of these stories. But like, I think more so than music, I think if I got like any laughs in my head, I crushed. But like, there's like a level of delusion where someone's got to rein you in and be like, yeah, you were good, but you weren't. You could have been better, because you can't see. It's like when you take a video of yourself. For instance, if I go outside and I'm throwing a football at different targets, in my head, I'm like, man, I'm like Tom Brady. I'm just ripping the football through these targets. Then if I take video of it and I watch the video back, it's like, not quite. But on the other side of the spectrum, we went to this place. It was like some sort of cafe that Bob Dylan had played at. And so there was like a huge list of open mic people that went down, like 50 people, a lot of guitarists and like folk music, no comedy at all. So I remember I get up on stage, and this is like, there's like 50 people in the audience sitting in like cafe tables. And I get up on stage and I do my grandpa joke with the high pants and the wrinkly balls, whatever the joke is. I forgot it. But it was like it's like a guaranteed laugh almost, right? So I go up and I tell it, and there's people that laugh, but then there's one woman in the audience who is taking it upon herself to like condescend in a way where it's like she was making an example of like, yes, we're all rooting for you, Junior. We're all rooting for you, and we want you to succeed because this is so funny. Like she was just like kind of making like it was like low key, as the kids might say, condescending. So in a way, it's like she was doing contrived laughter, which is what you hear. And if anyone watches Red Bar, the one that comes to mind for me is when Red Bar is trying to get into like Andrew Schultz's comedy special. He's like saying that like the crowd noise is really amplified up to like make huge laughs, but if you just like take away the crowd noise entirely, it's like not funny. But I think Andrew Schultz, I'll give him credit, he has made me laugh. He said something about a neighborhood in Manhattan. He made a joke about like the East Village that actually made me laugh out loud once. And then he made another joke another time. He's made me laugh like less than 5 times, but hard enough to where I'll give him the thumbs up. So he is actually funny. But anyway, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, doing stand-up. I guess I can get into like me and Eric and I's road trip ends and like what happens from there. So I'd say, we left upstate, the upstate crowds, and we went to Manhattan to do stand-up at a place now super popular. This is a whole nother thing that blew my mind. The place was called, just checking my mixer, called The Pit. Improv, the PIT, Improv Theater. I forgot what it stands for. So when we went there, it must have been 2009. And my experience was hole in the wall, like random secret staircase into a room where there's a bucket where you put $5 into the bucket and you get your name on the list. Then that little room had like free beers actually in a cooler. It was a tiny little room. Then you walk out and there was like 2 bleachers, and then this was like a more professional, like, it wasn't a stage, but it was like a flat surface. Spotlight comes down. MC's in a booth giving you instructions. Stop when the light comes on, whatever. So I went there twice. The first time I went, I had written material, and I had to practice of coming off of the road trip that we took where we probably did stand up, I want to say like 8 or 9 times maybe, if you're counting like yelling my jokes at a semicircle of people, all the different bars. There was times too where we went to quite a few different open mics where it was canceled or like didn't exist. But we did get up and tell our jokes, I want to say between like 6-8 times or something like that, maybe more, by the time I come down to the city. Now, upstate crowd, let me just see how much time. Crowd versus Manhattan crowd, huge difference. No one was laughing at my grandpa joke in Manhattan. So I went to the Pit twice. The first time, actually, I believe, I bombed. Yeah, I bombed the first time. And this is how I'll end the video because I have a minute left. And this has been pretty successful because my video hasn't run out. I didn't plan ahead, so I didn't change the battery. So I was thinking like, oh no, if the battery runs out, it's going to ruin it. But it'll be fine. Maybe we'll go a little over time. But the experience of bombing is why I quit and I never did stand up again. I went to the pit one more time, and that was my last ever attempt. But the experience of bombing is truly brutal in a way that is soul crushing to such an extent that it is just so brutal that, and this is the thought that went through my head when I was taking the public bus back to, I was still doing comedy with Eric. We went to the pit, but he had parked all the way in the Bronx, I think, because we figured we couldn't find a spot. There's the 15 minutes. So we're taking the public bus back to the Bronx to like get to his car. And in my head, I'm sitting on the bus, and I'm just like, I gotta go back to music. Do what you're good at. This is too brutal. You'll never do it again. You'll never do it again. And I think I did stand up one more time just to try and bring, a friend kept on talking shit, saying, he goes, I'll be funny. I was like, I know a place we can go. We'll go. So that was my last ever attempt, which I also bombed. But I hadn't written any material that night. The bomb didn't hit as hard because I wasn't as invested. I can talk more about stand-up. I didn't get to share my thoughts on the current state. I'd like to give my comments on Matt Rife, who's got an interesting thing going because he is actually funny, because I saw him on Bobby Lee's podcast, and he is funny, but he's using stand-up as a way to like become like a motivational speaker. And then obviously other thoughts I have about how like one of the most frustrating things, which is weird, but it's way more definable in stand-up and it should just be erased, is like, if you're not funny, there's guys who go up who are really not funny at all. And they're not even just like bombing, but they're just like, you shouldn't even be up there. That's weird to see. So you see some of that and it's more easy to define, and my comparison is music. Like if someone goes up and plays a bad music set, people are more or less polite, and there's also like some level of subjectivity, but this is a whole nother video. That's been the 15-minute segment. If you'd enjoyed, write in the comments what other videos you want me to do or topics you want me to talk about for 15 minutes, or maybe I can do a part 2 to stand up if you want to hear more of these stories about doing stand-up. And yeah, I will see you next time, and I'm going to end the stream now. Let's see if I can do this successfully.